Kids with bubbles, dogs with cowboy hats. Thank you, America, for sending in your photos. As always, our nation's anthem, 6 a.m., August 20th, year of our Lord 2022. And we begin this morning in the dark in New York City. Rachel Campo-Stuffy, Will Kane, great to see you both this morning.
Good morning.
Have you
just got back from your hometown?
I know. Sadly, we didn't see each other. Have you wake surfed?
I can't surf anymore because I had an accident where my ankle doesn't work, but I have surfed. But my kids and my husband all wake surf.
That's why I asked. I saw the picture of the lady wake surfing with the American flag, and I was talking to your husband, Sean Duff, the other day about how much your family now loves wake surfing.
Is it difficult? I saw it on one of your Instagram posts. It looks like a lot of fun. But
it's a lot of fun. I think you guys are athletic enough. You guys could do it. If you have good balance, you can do it.
You saw me try to barefoot ski at your cabin in Wisconsin. It didn't go well.
No. I think you could do this. This is a little easier than barefoot.
Okay, it is. Really?
You went like for the top.
Did you stand up?
You could do this.
I used to try that when I was in high school.
If standing up is like, that's
always face plant too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It doesn't go well. All right. Well, thank you again, as always, for sending in your photos. We really appreciate it. We look forward to spending 4 hours with you this morning. Well, we covered last week through the weekend, and then this week what happened at Mar-a-Lago, the unprecedented raid of a former president's home. And now we have a new motion being filed by the Trump team, Trump lawyers, because they've looked at the situation. They've had some time to digest it. How do you confront it? And it turns out way back in the Revolutionary days, part of what the Brits used to do to us was serve general warrants, which meant we want to get you, therefore we're going to search you. And part of what our founders put into our legal system was the idea warrants need to be specific. You can't go fishing for a crime. The Fourth Amendment against unreasonable search and seizure was a part of that. Well, the Trump team plans to make that part of their argument as they challenge this raid and all the materials being taken. Here's Jim Trusty. He's a lawyer for President Trump. He's talking to Mark Levin about the next steps in how they'll confront what happened to President Trump. Listen.
It requires particularity. It requires narrowness to the intrusion on the person's home. And this warrant had language in it. And keep in mind, all we've seen is a warrant and an inventory. But the warrant has language in it about if you find a classified document, you can take the whole box around it, and you can take any boxes near it. And that's really the functional equivalent of a general search. There's just no limit to that kind of scope in the warrant. We're going to come out swinging and say, look, this cannot be something where we just get a kind of a wink and a nod from DOJ that we're supposed to trust them under these circumstances. We're going to have to get court involved, judicial intervention at the district court level to get somebody in the mix here that can help us vindicate the Fourth Amendment rights of the president.
Well, you're a lawyer. Do you think this is the right approach to go with the Fourth Amendment? And do you think they'll be successful?
As to whether or not they'll be successful is a very difficult call, because then you get into the question of whether or not the judge making that decision, who rules on whether or not this was a Fourth Amendment violation, is one who can and will proceed objectively and fairly. As to whether or not there is a Fourth Amendment general warrant violation, well, let's look at it this way. We don't know because we haven't seen the probable cause affidavit underneath the search warrant. Therefore, we don't really know the reasons that the FBI went in to raid Mar-a-Lago. We have heard through what seems to be somewhat coordinated leaks through the media various motivations and explanations, but those have moved. Those have changed over a week or two's time, which leads the American public, the political electorate, to look at it and go, this seems to be, as in Pete's words, a fishing expedition. It seems to be a blank piece of paper in search of a crime, which would be a Fourth Amendment general warrant violation.
And do you think that what they're looking for, first of all, you're right, their motivations or their reasoning has kind of changed for why they haven't divulged that. But I guess my question is, are they looking for something for January 6th? What is it that they're doing, and why? I mean, how long can they get away with not showing the goods? You know
that question as well as anybody. They've been searching and searching from the beginning to take on an outsider and looking for any possible reason and rationale. It could be January 6th. It could be any other number of investigations that remain ongoing against the former president. And what we saw in the warrant, Will, was astonishingly broad. Any document or any classified document between when Trump took office and when Trump left office with any sort of classification on it, but that included any box with classification, which could have included any information in it, which included the president's passport, which they had to give back. So I didn't have the words for it I'm not a legal guy. But that was my instinct is, wow, this feels so broad. They can grab whatever they want. Now the Trump team's lawyers are saying that's exactly what a general warrant is and why it shouldn't have been executed.
You can't have a search. So to take us back to fundamentals and basics, you can't, the idea of the Fourth Amendment was that you cannot have a search in search of a crime.
Yes.
You can't go through someone's house with a blank slate search warrant in search of a crime. You know, the famous Soviet Union enforcer Beria said, "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime."
Yeah.
And so the Fourth Amendment is supposed to be a type of protection against that mentality. Now, we don't know. Maybe there's a lot of specificity in that probable cause affidavit. Maybe it's we are looking specifically for this from President Trump, but we simply do not know.
Right. And the fact that they haven't come forward and shown the affidavit shows that there's a problem.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, Rachel, because they very rarely, in fact, and I talked to Harmeet Dillon this week about this when I was filling in on Primetime. You did a great job last night. They very rarely reveal a probable cause affidavit until after an arrest or an indictment.
But with somebody this high profile, it seems like people are calling for that.
You would like that because of the way the American people are going to fill in the blanks.
Right.
Yes, that's the reason, Rachel, why I think it is so significant to have maximum transparency. Roger Stone last year called the FBI, Joe Biden's FBI, the American Gestapo.
Yes.
Rasmussen polled that number to the American people right now. 53% of Americans right now agree with that characterization. That's a very dangerous characterization if correct. That's a complete mistrust for the Federal Bureau of Investigations in our country. If you want to correct that, then provide the evidence of what you were looking for. It's not completely unprecedented to provide an affidavit. It's just rare. In this case, with an unprecedented raid, it feels like the appropriate step to take.
Victor Davis Hanson also said that. He said that basically the FBI is the person that the Biden family goes to get, laptops and diaries and, guns.
To recover.
Yeah, recover all this stuff. It seems to be that they're working for the Biden family and their troubles. But part of the Biden family troubles is Donald Trump running again. And so this could be another case of them doing that.
All right, we switch gears now to America's soaring crime crisis. The man accused of sucker punching a man who is now in a coma. He was finally arrested yesterday after first being released without bail.
And that man, a convicted sex offender, was only arrested after the governor demanded that he be taken into custody.
Oh, Governor Hochul shows up just in the nick of time. Ashley Strohmeyer joins us live with this story and other shocking crimes. Ashley.
Yeah, 55-year-old Van Vubai was taken back into custody Friday by the direction of Governor Kathy Hochul. Hochul singing praises of the move despite her refusal to address bail reform laws.
Took action in my own hands. I directed the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision to immediately examine whether or not this parole violation occurred. And as of minutes ago, that person is now in custody.
The Bronx DA's office is still reviewing the case but did not rule out possible additional charges. And the NYPD is looking for 7 brazen thieves after a Lululemon is robbed of nearly $30,000 in merchandise in the meatpacking district on Tuesday. And in Los Angeles, a flash mob of looters ransacked a 7-Eleven as dozens of people took off with various things.
Prevent this from becoming a new trend where they think that they show up and come into a store and take what they want. And we're here to basically say it's not going to happen.
Finally, authorities in Oklahoma released this wild dash cam video. It shows a woman slipping out of handcuffs, grabbing a police rifle, and then shooting at a patrol car. One civilian was hurt after being shot in the chest, but a deputy was also injured after a bullet grazed his head.
Ow! What was that? Oh! Man, Danny, I'm hit right here. I'm hit right here too, Danny.
Absolutely insane. That woman is in jail on a $1 million bond and charged with shooting with the intent to kill. Back to you guys.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Ashley. Wow.
Insane footage. She's probably on drugs, which is another problem that we have going on, which is a lot of drugs,
For sure.
fentanyl coming over the border.
The guy that was shot going, what was that?
What was that? Well, if you have someone in the back of a patrol car in handcuffs, you assume that's not where the shooting is coming from. So they didn't know.
Well, I mean, I've never been shot, so I'm a little surprised at his reaction.
I've never been shot at, but not shot. Well, it said it grazed, right?
It grazed? Is it just a graze?
But, man, that's great.
You know, this looks bad, but I think actually the most shocking stuff has been the looting that continues to happen, and the way people can take off. You know, they go into stores and they grab, you know, not just
Is that a security guard with his?
Yes, that's what I caught too. Yes. He's lucky his face is bearded. But you see that's not just that guy. You see it in store after store after store. The security guards pull out their cameras to photograph it, maybe to provide evidence, but they can't and won't and don't do anything about it for fear of their own lives because you've got a mob on your hands. And
look at this.
I mean, this is the really shocking stuff. It tells me so much. It tells me, one, about, you know, that's stealing. That's a commandment. I mean, some people are not being raised right. There's a parenting problem here. These people have no morals, no scruples. There's no reason to do that. No one's starving to death. This is just absolute mayhem. But it also tells me that in these cities, people are not voting the right way to stop these things.
Yeah, apparently this group was going around the city, shutting down intersections, doing like traffic tricks and whipping you-know-whats and, you know, just causing mayhem street by street, and then decided to hit a 7-Eleven. The thing about Governor Hochul and the sucker punch, the only reason she took this strong stance, which isn't a strong stance, is because there was videotape and it was so egregious. All you should need is man on parole absolutely sucker punches someone, puts them in a coma. There's no way that guy should be out on the street the next day.
Pete,
she locks him down. Misdemeanor.
Bronx DA decides it's a misdemeanor and lets him out within a day, right?
What are other examples of a misdemeanor?
I mean, like jaywalking?
Jaywalking? Like, we're talking, this guy, he crumbles to the ground. Is that not attempted murder? Is that not, you know, first-degree assault? I don't know.
Imagine just being there. But also the taxi driver who had the people run out of the young teenagers run out of his cab because they didn't pay their fare, and he ran after them, and they to death. A father of 4. I mean, there are horrible things happening, and Heather McDonald, who's written a lot about crime and police officers, she's the author of Diversity Delusion. She says that politicians are the ones who are delusional. Listen.
Our politicians are fundamentally in denial. They say crime is a racist fiction. It is not. It is real. This is completely intolerable. We are watching a civilization unwind fast. This is these lootings, these shootings, the mob violence is happening on a daily basis. At this point, the police have to do whatever it takes within lawful constitutional boundaries to get this crime wave out of control. Otherwise, we are going to be in a situation of a war of all against all. What they have to do, they have to use their powers of stop, question, and frisk to stop people engaged in suspicious behavior. They have to use their gang databases, facial recognition technology, and for God's sakes, we have to incarcerate people.
I mean, she went on to say, however, they're in an impossible situation because if they act and are proactive underneath the political leadership they have, they're the ones that'll be targeted. And she went on to say, you got to get rid of the fear of this cheap label of you're racist. Because it's not racist to enforce laws regardless of skin color.
You know, there's this clip that came across my attention this week from MSNBC where it was a commentator describing Rudy Giuliani's tough on crime policies in the 1990s as tyrannical and racist. What we're seeing today is the antithesis of those 1990s broken windows theory policies. The broken windows theory was prosecute the small crimes, right?
Yep.
And you establish a culture of intolerance of crime. Today, what we see from these DAs is forgive the small crimes. Describe as many things as you can as a misdemeanor, let people out as quickly as possible because of racial disparities. And what we're seeing is, therefore, you encourage crime. We're seeing the opposite of the 1990s approach.
But again, why do the people of New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Baltimore, why do they continue to vote for politicians, mayors, DAs who allow this to happen? They see the consequences and they continue to vote for these type of people. So, I mean, at some point you have to say, you get what you deserve. If you don't vote for the right people, you get these policies.
All right, coming up, blending in at the border. Illegal immigrants getting creative with disguises to bypass border security. They look like Jason Bourne here, as encounters hit over $2 million in this fiscal year.
Plus, raising a kid now costs $300,000, while CNN tries to spin falling gas prices as a raise for you. Can't make that one up.
We're back with a few headlines, starting with the crisis at the border. Border Patrol arresting 3 suspected illegal immigrants found sneaking through New Mexico wearing ghillie suits. These suits are specially designed pieces of clothing mostly used by hunters and members of the military as camouflage. The National Institute of Health is finally behind the ball. Now, voting for this year's USA Mullet Championship is closed. They might have a party in the back, but it's all business for the 25 finalists. Only one mullet will be crowned the best and take home, get this, $2,500. It costs each contender $10 to enter. The fee is going towards the Michigan Wig Foundation for Kids, and the winner will be announced tomorrow. That's a pretty good one, I have to say. Those are your headlines.
I wonder if you have to be in person to enter the Mullet Championships, or can you just submit a photo?
It appears we have photos. I mean, what are they going to do?
photos.
Walk a stage?
Yeah, it sounds like an actual, like a pageant.
Like flow it, like flip it?
I've also heard that it's also called the Wisconsin Waterfall in the back. I've heard that as well.
Kentucky waterfall. I've never once heard it called the Wisconsin waterfall.
I have.
I guarantee you it's known as the Kentucky waterfall and adapted by Wisconsinites.
No.
Because the center of the universe is Wisconsin.
Correct, right.
We'll own that mullet.
I love it. There are plenty of good mullets in Wisconsin, though. I can confirm that.
Yeah.
All right, the march to the midterms is heating up as party leaders hit the road to stump for their preferred candidates.
Former Vice President Mike Pence hitting the Iowa State Fair as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis goes to key battleground states to rally for conservatives.
Alexandria Hoff is live in Washington with the latest. Alexandria, good morning.
Good morning. I don't know if I can follow that mullet story. I really can't this morning. But, you know, we have the midterm elections are coming up just 80 days from now, so the stumping is in full swing. Former Vice President Mike Pence, he was undeterred by some rainy conditions yesterday at the Iowa State Fair as he campaigned with Senator Chuck Grassley. The Republican has been so far leading his Democrat challenger, retired Navy Admiral Mike Franken.
I'm in Iowa for one reason and one reason only, and that is that Iowa and America need 6 more years of Senator Chuck Grassley in a Republican majority in the Senate. And I can tell you, I've been traveling all across the country, and 100% of our focus has been on doing our part to win back the House, win back the Senate, elect and re-elect Republican governors all across the country.
You could hear Pence there kind of wave off any presidential prospects. And while there, Fox News also heard from voters who said the high cost of living is what will guide their vote.
Inflation and how we're just making it worse.
The Biden administration has messed up a lot of policies.
The way things have turned out, it's looking like he's not doing enough or the right thing.
Like Pence, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is touring battleground states. In Pittsburgh yesterday, he rallied alongside Trump-endorsed Doug Mastriano, a Republican state senator running for Pennsylvania governor. He is running that against Democrat Josh Shapiro. DeSantis also traveled to Ohio last night to rally with Ohio Republican Senate candidate J.D. Vance. Vance, of course, beat out a crowded field in the primary after also earning former President Trump's endorsement. DeSantis spoke broadly about doing away with Democratic policies and the woke ideology.
To take back the majority, and I think we will. But just as important of just having the majority, we need people that are going to be willing to go up there and do something with the majority. Stop talking and actually get something done.
Both Pence and DeSantis consider potential 2024 candidates for president, both of them at this point with a very different relationship with former President Donald Trump, who, of course, has not yet announced if he will run or not. Will, Rachel, Pete.
Thank you, Alexandra. That race is heating up. I mean, I guess.
I mean, it's you're right. It started. To see these guys starting to show up.
Yeah, at the Iowa State Fair, that means something. And by the way, DeSantis being received as a rock star everywhere he goes.
I mean, come on. Mike Pence may be at the Iowa State Fair, but the odds of Mike Pence being the president in 2024?
Yeah. It's like the Jeb of, I like Mike Pence, but he would be like the Jeb of this coming up race, probably.
Yeah, there's nothing not to like. I mean,
he's a nice guy.
But Donald Trump, everyone's waiting on him and what he does. It's great to see guys like Ron DeSantis out stumping. It would be nice. Sean Hannity went after Mitch McConnell hard last night, saying stop grousing about what kind of candidates you have and get on the field and advocate for them if you want to win the Senate majority. So we'll see what happens.
You know, one of the arguments that you could make if you were a candidate was the cost of living for the average American family. Look at this on what it would cost to raise a child, what it does cost to raise a child. Right now it's $310,000 to raise a family of children with ages 7 through 15. It's an average of over $18,000 a year. And this is more than 9% from 2 years ago, the cost of raising is up.
Yeah, so inflation hits parents as you raise kids, and the more kids you have, the more costs you have. And on the basic items which you provide for kids are the things that have been more expensive, not to mention fuel and shuttling kids around.
Yes.
The reality is families feel it every single day that over the last 2 years, their lives have gotten more complicated, more expensive, and likely they'll go to the ballot box.
Yeah, I mean, this year there are children who were maybe eating chicken last year who are eating hot dogs and mac and cheese this year. You see also a huge uptick in the number of families who are going to the food bank for the first time, which, you know, is an amazing thing. I mean, it's like a breadline kind of situation in our country where people just can't make.
Is a hot dog and mac and cheese a downgrade from chicken?
Well, what I'm saying is it's less expensive.
It is.
Or a bologna, a bologna sandwich.
That would be good.
A bologna sandwich or a mayonnaise sandwich. I mean, we've done interviews on inflation with parents saying, I just can't afford meat anymore, which, by the way, might be what the left actually wants, because they want us to reduce our meat consumption. But it is getting more expensive. Again, the average cost of price of gas today is $3.90. In June, it was $5. A year ago, it was $3.17. It was in the $2 range when Donald Trump was in office.
So the left is celebrating now. I mean, good. It's down from $5 in June, but it's still up. 73 cents from a year ago. This is the CNN Business headline. They're saying because gas prices are down from where they were up, even though they're overall up, America just got a $100 a month raise. This is some spin if I've ever seen it. Here's the remainder of the story. Next time you stop at a gas station, think of it as a $100 a month tax cut, or maybe a $100 a month raise. The steady drop of gas prices over the last few months has turned into an unexpected form of economic stimulus, coming at a time when the Federal Reserve is trying to cool the economy and battle rising prices with higher interest rates. Will, the idea that this is a year ago, they were, I don't know what.
I'm beating you less than I used to, so you should celebrate that fact.
Yes.
Look, I don't commit as many crimes as I used to, so let's celebrate.
So let's feel better.
Look, you're not losing as bad in this game as you normally lose, so let's celebrate.
Or, and by the way, Twitter's having a lot of fun with this, too. One woman writing in that, you know, they start the fire and then they take credit for putting it out, which is essentially, and they're not even putting it out.
So the flames are a little smaller.
They're just a little smaller flames. So that's really what it looks like. Going back to the cost of children, there's been a lot of debate about that study, you know, like people going, well, you know, should we have kids or not because it's so expensive? And my theory is you win on the back end. And the reason is I once ran into a Mexican priest, and he told me when he found out how many kids I had, he said, great, Mexican Social Security. I guess none of us really expect to get Social Security. I have 9 kids, and by the way, 6 of them are daughters who turn out to be better when you get older.
I think, yeah.
Way better at that. So I think I'm going to be okay. I think I might make out in the end.
I had only sons, so I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble.
All right, coming up, Apple alert. Millions of iPhone users warned to change their settings or hackers could take control of your phone. Kurt, the cyber guy, says this is a huge vulnerability, and it shows us how to fix it.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. An emergency update. Millions of iPhones and Mac users urgently warned by Apple to change their latest settings after the tech giant warns hackers could easily gain control of their device. Here to break it all down is the cyber guy, Kurt Knudsen. Kurt, I woke up to this headline on the top of my news, and I immediately turned over to Sean. I'm like, our phones are going to get hacked. So what do we do?
Well, that very well could happen. Rachel, good morning to you. We have not seen a security vulnerability quite this dangerous in a very, very long time to hit any of Apple devices. And waking up this morning, you might say, oh, I'm okay. It automatically updates. That's not going to be good enough, because every second you go is the door you're leaving open for a hacker to get in and actually take control of an iPhone or iPad. So here's what we're going to do. Very simple. Grab your phone, your iPad this morning. go ahead and hit settings on it. Then what you want to do is go right there to general. And then when you hit the general, you're going to select software update. Now, it should give it a few seconds. It should show you that there is an update available. Beyond 15.6.1 is what it's called. And you're just going to update that now is the selection on that one. And just be patient. Let it do its update. Once that's done, you're going to be protected. The question is, why are we doing this so frequently? Why are these downloads happening so frequently? It is not your imagination. Apple devices have come under greater attack, and greater vulnerabilities are being discovered inside of them. So that leaves you with that gap from when this was discovered to when they actually get a patch for it to fix it. Oftentimes weeks, if not a couple of months between those times.
Kurt,
so you should have better protection in your life.
Kurt, how do I know if somebody has taken control of my phone?
That's the biggest problem, is you never really can tell unless something very obvious starts happening with your phone, such as a slowdown that seems really unusual, or it's really, really slow to start up. Resetting the phone could solve it sometimes, but not with regard to this kind of malicious attack where they could get in and then have the ability to execute a program inside your phone. In other words, control your phone. What does that mean? That means they could actually start listening to your bank account logons as you go and do your online banking, or get all of your contacts inside of it and start building a profile that then allows a manipulation and a ransomware game to happen a little later. Protection on each end is the best idea for all your devices. At cyberguy.com, Rachel, as you know, we did the whole 2002 review of the best antivirus protection for your devices. You'll see it all right there. A couple years ago, I wouldn't have said, hey, you got to have this kind of protection. I just live with it now. It's just a standard. The threats are that great at this point.
Yeah. Well, you know, I love the technology, but I do miss the kind of privacy we used to have pre-technology. But you give us a lot of good advice.
Rotary dial.
Yeah, I know. Listen, it was only my mom on the other end. Kurt, good talking to you.
Something to be said about that.
I know. Great talking to you, and thanks for all the great tips. I hope everyone goes to your website and updates their phone so this doesn't happen to them. Kurt, have a great day. Coming up, former President Trump hints at a major motion coming in response to the unprecedented Mar-a-Lago search. My husband and former Congressman Sean Duffy joins us on the legal implications.
Fox News alert: former President Trump hints at a major motion is coming in response to the raid at Mar-a-Lago. He and his legal team say they can't trust the DOJ's efforts to be transparent.
The Fourth Amendment requires particularity. It requires narrowness to the intrusion on the person's home. But the warrant has language in it about if you find a classified document, you can take the whole box around it, and you can take any boxes near it. There's just no limit to that kind of scope in the warrant. This cannot be something where we just get a kind of a wink and a nod from DOJ that we're supposed to trust them.
Here to react, former Congressman, attorney, prosecutor, and Fox News contributor Sean Duffy. Sean, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you think? What do you think about the not validity, but the potential for success for a Fourth Amendment claim by President Trump?
Well, I mean, listen, we don't know what's in the affidavit. We don't know the success of this. But listen, when you have a shockingly broad warrant that was issued in President Trump's home, which, again, is unheard of, that a former president's home would be searched, and then it would be this broad that every nook and cranny of the home is searched. I think that's outside the norm to start with. But then you go, well, look at the FBI and the DOJ. They've completely harassed Donald Trump for the last 6 years. They've surveilled him. They've lied to the FISA court. They've leaked those lies then out to the general media to taint the president. So they don't come at this with clean hands. And so now you have this warrant, and the question becomes, well, what was the probable cause for the warrant? And this is allegedly in regard to classified documents. Well, Donald Trump was cooperating with investigators of this investigation that wanted these documents back. So that leads us to believe there are other theories here of what the FBI is looking at. Is this in regard to January 6th? Do they want to stop him from running against Joe Biden for president? But also, Donald Trump had collected documents over the course of the presidency that he had declassified that went to the Russia collusion hoax. And he has a civil lawsuit going on right now against Hillary Clinton, the DNC, and members of the DOJ and the FBI, you know, Strzok and Page and Comey. So were they actually going for those documents? Did they want the documents so Donald Trump couldn't use them in his civil case against these individuals? And, you know, maybe this is a way to protect the DOJ, to get those documents back from Donald Trump. And if they're part of a pending investigation, then he can't use them. So there's a number of theories of why they would have done this, but many of them would have violated the Fourth Amendment per this alluding to the massive motion being filed.
And Sean, let's just play it forward for one moment. If that motion were successful in front of a judge, if they found that the warrant was too broad in general and therefore a violation of former President Trump's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure, what would be the effect? That anything gathered would be excluded from any potential investigation?
So any documents gathered would not be used against Donald Trump in the prosecution of a crime, or any fruits of those investigations or that illegal search and seizure couldn't be used against Donald Trump. Here's the problem, though, Will. They have the documents, right? And so what you're going to see is, even though Donald Trump will get his documents back, the FBI will retain copies of them, and you're going to see leaks of those documents out to the press to again slander Donald Trump. That is how the FBI and the DOJ does business, which is shameful and sad, which is why the American people don't trust them. But that's what they do. This is about the politics around the American election, not around truth and justice and the rule of law and past procedures in our court system and the way we treat our presidents.
That's a really good point. So legally, anything that was seized would be deemed fruit of a poisonous tree and therefore unusable against Donald Trump in a prosecution. But all that information could leak its way into the media, and also, by the way, I'm sure held committee or whatever the political fallout may be. Sean Duffy, really good point. Great to talk to you this morning.
Thanks, Will.
Hey, this week on the latest Will Cain podcast, do you guys remember Alex Stein? Remember? Big booty Latina, you know, confronting everyone, including Ted Cruz. I never saw that clip. Alex Stein, the Andy Kaufman political comedian. He's on the Will Cain podcast. Go check it out. You can also watch it at YouTube. Pete, over to you.
Forward to seeing that. Thank you, Will. All right, turning now to a few additional headlines. The last member of a notorious terror group dubbed the ISIS Beatles will spend the rest of his life in prison. The British national dubbed Ringo, receiving 8 life sentences for his involvement in the execution of 4 American hostages in Syria in 2014. One of the victims was American journalist James Foley. His mother, Diane, joins us live later in the show. And a school in New Jersey is dropping founding father Thomas Jefferson's name. Jefferson Elementary School in South Orange will now be known as Delia Bolden Elementary School. Bolden was the local high school's first black graduate. The changes will go into effect next month. Bye-bye, Thomas Jefferson. Thanks for all you did for us. Have you tried salting your watermelon this summer? If you haven't, then apparently you're doing it all wrong. Snack hackers say add a punch of salt to the fruit to enhance the flavor.
My grandfather did this.
Really?
And my son does it as well. You guys never done this? Put salt on fruit?
I've salted other types of fruits, but not watermelon.
Really? Oh, yeah. It does bring it out.
I've tried it on, like, people like that on mango.
Okay. So we've got a little salt and a little watermelon here. We're going to give it a shot.
I don't know if you
Papa Kane likes it.
Salt.
If Papa Kane likes it, it might be good.
Well, you gave more than a pinch. You're going to love that.
It's a little too much, huh?
Get after it. No, it's going to be great.
Actually,
it's really good.
Works.
Right? It does work.
It totally works.
Yum.
I just never eat watermelon. But
Really?
Why? Watermelon's amazing.
It's really good for you, too.
Is it
When's
really?
the last time I was like, wow, that's good for me, I should eat it?
I thought it was an empty fruit, not like a blueberry is a super fruit. This has got good stuff?
No, it's all water.
All right.
It's like 98% water. It's like drinking a glass of water.
Vitamins. I'm going to get all the...
Absolutely wrapped us with the graphic. Where's Rick Reichmuth? He continues his summer road trip this morning.
Today, I got you.
Oh,
guys.
Today, Rick's at an alpaca farm in the Catskills. There he is. Hey, Rick.
Good morning, guys. You know, Pete was so afraid of the pythons that we had last week. I thought, we got to bring him something a little more tame, so we're going with alpacas this morning.
Thanks,
we're
Rick.
in upstate New York. I've got Jen Nystrom here from Buckbrook Alpacas. How many alpacas do you have at this farm?
We have a little over 100.
And we've got 6 of them with us here. These guys, they're not from here. They're from South America originally. How did they get to the U.S.?
So they came into the United States in 1984. They originated from Peru, Ecuador, and Chile.
All right, and you guys, I mean, they use these for their fur. Their fur is it fur? Is it called
fiber?
Fur?
So we use the fleece. It's hypoallergenic. Okay, it's a hollow fiber, so it's super warm. It's 3 times warmer than any other fiber. So there's 23 natural shades. So these are 6 of the shades that we have.
They're really soft.
They are.
So if people want to come up here, you come up here, they can walk the alpacas. We're going to feed a baby alpaca in a little bit. You have other animals. What else happens at the farm?
So we actually give tours. You can come up and feed them apples. You can also take an alpaca up for a walk. We also do some educational stuff where we manipulate the fiber. And we also have some small animals here, chickens, ducks, pigs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Jen, thank you. Pete, do you like these better than the pythons from last week?
Hey, Rick. Can you ask her how much an alpaca costs?
How much does an alpaca cost?
Depends on what you want to use it for.
Oh, depends
just for
on what
fun,
you want
just to have in the backyard.
Pete's going to have one as a pet.
Pete's
She's
thinking
got
about
9
it.
kids.
No, it's for Pete. It's a Pete.
She's got 9 kids.
It's
oh
Pete.
boy,
It's
so
Pete.
they range what from 500 to
500 to 500 up. We'll put it that way. By the way, they've got the best alpaca in the world.
That's right.
Here.
In the country.
In the country.
So we have the best wakaya yet.
Legit.
Her name
it's more
is
than
Tiger Lily.
$500.
All right, thank you, Rick, so much. Coming up, it's Military Appreciation Day at Yankee Stadium, and we're helping honor the Special Operations Warrior Foundation.
People in